Welcome everybody. Well, it looks like the recording for yesterday's class got lost, so I'm going to go back and just redo the highlights of what we covered. And really, the first thing that we started at, let me just jump right in, was we looked at the project description sheet. So if you click this link here and go to project description sheet, this gives a general outline of what my expectations are for the project. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably taking the class 360. So what we're going to do is just communicate at some point and figure out how you're going to present two options. Well, actually three options. You could come in to the class one day and actually show off your stuff. 5 to 10 minutes, very low pressure, very low key. Whatever you worked on, you just kind of demo it or show it off or present it. No spreadsheet, no PowerPoint necessary. It's just a sort of a show and tell. So you can come into the classroom and do that. You can meet with me privately to demo your project. We could maybe try to do it through a WebEx or a Zoom session, so you could stay at home and present live to me online, or maybe even just make a quick video, like a screencast video of your presentation. So lots of different options, and let's not get bogged down in the details on how we're going to do that. Your job right now is just to figure out what you want to do. So I have here listed a bunch of different possibilities, and this is by no means a complete list. It's just some options, and you can install a different operating systems. Maybe there's Slackware, there's Arch, there's Gentoo, a lot of different flavors of Linux that you could just install from scratch and get in, play around with it a little bit, become somewhat of an expert, figure out how to add and remove software, that sort of thing, on that new operating system, and get a feel for the interface, blah blah blah. So that's a project right there. You can download some software, and it doesn't necessarily have to be compiled from source, but some software in the Linux realm that is sort of operating system-y, if you understand what that means, and demos something that you can do in a Unix Linux environment. I've actually had some pretty good projects with this, and one of them was somebody got in, they were graphic design, and they demoed how to use GIMP, which is the equivalent to oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But GIMP is a way that you can do really advanced graphics stuff. So anyway, that might be an option. You can install and configure a website. I already have a student interested in doing that, or some other type of server. You can set up an FTP server. You can set up a Samba server. So there's lots of choices there. Or you can take a standard but complicated Linux command and demonstrate some of the nuances. Particularly, there are some security-related commands out there that might be nice, and maybe Google security Linux and see what comes up, see if there's any options for that. So the hardest part is just figuring out what you're going to do. Discuss it with me, send me an email, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and I will certainly be glad to give you my opinion. Typically, students shoot too high, and I have to kind of bring them back down to earth. So definitely run it by me. Required, fill out the project proposal form. So you're going to find the project proposal form in the same link down here. It's called the project plan. It's a LibreOffice document, but you can open it up in Microsoft Word, name, title of project, 2 or 3 sentence overview, and then maybe a few expected outcomes, what you plan to be able to accomplish as you go through your project. And these outcomes are going to change for some of you as you get into the project. But anyway, I'd like to have this by, let's see, what's the date that I want it by? November 28th. So send me something to that effect by the 28th of November, but preferably sooner. Then work on your project. We'll have a full week of class time dedicated just to working on projects, and then prepare a quick presentation. I do want you to have at least a single page document, maybe more, that you will hand out to your classmates. And I know it's somewhere in here. Oh yes, please prepare and distribute at least a one-page handout. It doesn't have to be formal. A lot of times what it is just, here's the steps that I did. Boom, 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 to accomplish this task. And here's some links that you can follow if you're interested in pursuing the same thing I did. So real informal again. But I do want it to be at least a page. And some people have given me 5, 6, 7 pages, which is really cool. And then you're graded on relative difficulty of your project based on what I perceive your level of ability is at this point in the semester. So again, I don't want you to shoot too high. I want the project to be doable. Really, we're only going to have a couple of weeks to work on it. And so that's that. So some examples of projects. Number 1 on the list is do something with a Raspberry Pi. I've had lots of cool projects with Raspberry Pi. Actually, the library at GCC has Raspberry Pis available. And if you're asking yourself, what's a Raspberry Pi? Well, a Raspberry Pi, see if I can bring up a picture, is a little device, not that big, and it's a full-blown computer that runs Linux. So there's lots of cool small projects that you can do. In fact, the very first thing I did with a Raspberry Pi was I wrote my own operating system, which it was in assembly language, and it was extremely geeky. The only thing the operating system did was it made a LED on the board blink 3 or 4 times. So that was it, but it was kind of cool, and I had never programmed in assembly language before, so I learned a little bit. But anyway, we have Raspberry Pis available, and there's lots of different fun projects that you can do with those. What next? We go back to the project. Set up a firewall, install Webmin, which is a pretty good tool to administer a local Linux system. Set up a web server. Set up an FTP server. And you can Google these if you're uncomfortable. I'm going to, just so you can read through this list, you can set up a print server that handles print jobs for multiple computers. And so like you can have a Windows server printing, or a Windows machine printing to your Linux server that will then handle the print jobs. Here's an easy one, logical volume management. If you can't figure out what to do, I can give you that. I think last semester I had somebody showing me the Ubuntu system that's built right into Windows now, and they did a very nice demo of that. But anyway, lots and lots of different possibilities. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's other options out there also. The only exception is this semester, excuse me, this semester I am not going to let you do anything on your phone, because last year I had somebody who blew up their phone, and I felt bad and they felt bad, and so rooting your phone and installing an operating system on your phone, that's off limits this semester. But again, lots of options. Oh, this is cool. If you insist on running on Windows, there's this thing called Cygwin, and I'm going to actually go just Google it. Cygwin is a Linux emulation layer that sits on top of Windows. And so you're running on Windows, but it's actually Linux commands. One of the very first things I do when I have to administer a Windows server is I install Cygwin and then set up secure SSH on that Windows server so I can SSH directly into the server without having to get a GUI. So right there, that's a project. One more thing, and then I'll be done with this, and you can ask your questions later. Last semester, I had 2 students who really wanted to be able to SSH into their home computer from GCC, and you can do that as well. Maybe through the... I'm sorry about coughing, folks. I have a scratchy throat today. You set up an SSH server on your home computer, maybe through Cygwin, or maybe you have a virtual Linux machine running on your home computer. You can set up your router to allow you to SSH directly from the outside world into your local computer. So that's something, I mean, you want to shut it down after the experiment is done, but it's kind of a cool project as well. So, and there's lots of video and documentation on pretty much all of this stuff out on the internet. I keep saying one final thing, but this is the final thing. If your interest is security, network security, there are lots of fun things that you can do that are security related. There is a Linux distribution called Kali Linux, and I think that's how you pronounce it, which you can do all kinds of security-based projects and tests on a Linux system. So lots of different options. And again, if you can't figure something out, I can assign you a project, and I promise it'll be reasonable and doable, and you'll learn something from it. So if you want to stick on the Windows side, it has to be an operating systems project. It can't be just installing software on Windows. That's stuff that we've been doing our whole life. So I would prefer you to stay on the Linux side since it's new and different. But if you have to do something in Windows, then it has to be a pretty detailed operating systems level project. So that's all I'm going to say. Let me bring up my calendar here. So remember the cal command. So this is where we are right now. Actually, this was the class that Wednesday the 7th that we're recording. 2 more classes of material, the 12th and the 14th. The 19th is review. The 21st is your test. And those of you who are in 360, I'd say start planning now. Let me know what you think you want to do for this test, because remember, this is Thanksgiving, so you're not going to be able to go into the testing center on the 22nd. So see if there's some way that we can work around that. But if need be, we can take the test early the following week. All right, just let me know what your thoughts are. 26th and the 28th are going to be open lab time, where you can work on projects, you can work on them from home or in the classroom, open time. And then project presentations will be on the 3rd and the 5th. So that's where you present in front of your classmates. We can try to do 360 presentations that way. And then I'm also dedicating the days of the 10th and the 11th for anybody who wants to come in and maybe demo their project to me in private or to a very small group. I know that there's some, anxiety about presenting to a group. So if that's the case, we can certainly set up individual presentations, and that would be on the 10th and the 11th. By the way, I forgot to mention, and I'm going to put it on the bulletin board in class, but the final exam has been scheduled for December 11th. Not everybody's going to have to take it. In fact, I'm considering making it completely optional this year. It would be something that would improve your grade for one of your tests. So right now that is set for the 11th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. And I'll discuss this more. Let's say on the 26th, after I have your third test in the book, I'll be able to give you a much better idea of what my expectations are going to be for the final. But as of right now, if you've been doing well on tests and your project is a success, the final will be more than likely optional.